What would you do if a poor, selfless girl saved your only child's life without even knowing who he was? Today's story will break your heart and heal it at the same time. It's about a girl who gave everything she had for someone she didn't even know. But what happened next changed her life forever. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I love seeing how far our stories reach around the world. The hospital corridor smelled like disinfectant and despair. Nurses rushed past, patients whispered in pain. And somewhere down the hall, a machine beeped steadily, fighting to keep someone alive. Amid all this chaos sat Lily, a 19-year-old girl with trembling hands and an empty wallet. She wasn't there for herself. She was there because she overheard something she couldn't ignore. "We can't find a donor match," one doctor had said to another. "The boy won't make it through the night." The boy, Ethan Williams, was just 16. She didn't know him, never met his family, but something in the doctor's tone shattered her heart. Lily's younger brother had died 2 years earlier, waiting for a transplant that never came. She still remembered his tiny voice saying, "Maybe someone will help me, Lily," but no one did. That night, she made a decision. She walked into the nurse's office, barely able to speak through the lump in her throat. "I want to be tested," she said. The nurse blinked. "You're not related to the patient." "I know," Lily whispered, "but I might be a match." Hours passed. She waited, staring at the floor, her fingers clenched together. When the results came back, the nurse looked at her with disbelief. You're a perfect match." Her heart raced. She should have been happy, but all she felt was fear. Fear of the surgery, of the unknown, of what might happen if something went wrong. But Lily nodded anyway. "I'll do it," she said. "Sign me up." The doctor tried to talk her out of it. "You're young. You don't even know him. Why risk your life?" Lily smiled faintly. "Because someone once didn't take the risk for my brother." The operation was scheduled at dawn. No one from Ethan's family was there, just doctors, nurses, and a trembling girl in a faded hospital gown. As they prepped her for surgery, she whispered a prayer to her brother. "If you can hear me, please watch over me." Hours later, when she woke up, everything hurt. Her side throbbed, her throat was dry, and the light was blinding. But the first thing she saw was the doctor's face, smiling. "He's alive," the doctor said softly. "You saved him." Tears filled her eyes. She didn't know who Ethan really was. To her, he was just a boy who got another chance at life. But miles away, in a marble mansion at the edge of the city, a billionaire named Richard Williams was getting a call that would change everything. His only son had been saved by a girl he'd never met. The hospital lights flickered softly as nurses rushed past, their voices blending into a blur of urgency. Outside the operating room, a man in an expensive suit sat motionless. Daniel Reed, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city. His only son, Ethan, lay inside, fighting for his life after a sudden kidney failure. Doctors had said there was no time left. Without a transplant, Ethan wouldn't make it through the night. Daniel had searched every contact, called every specialist, offered millions for a match, but no one fit, until a quiet voice spoke from the corner of the corridor. "I'll do it," the girl said. Everyone turned. She was small, pale, her clothes worn thin from years of struggle. Her name was Maya, a waitress from a nearby diner who happened to be in the hospital donating blood. "You don't even know who the boy is," the nurse said in disbelief. Maya smiled faintly. "Does it matter?" Daniel stared at her, speechless. "You'd give your kidney to a stranger?" She nodded. "He's someone's son. That's enough." Hours later, the surgery began. Maya didn't ask for money, didn't sign a deal. All she wanted was to help. When she woke up after the operation, Her side ached and her throat was dry. But she smiled when she heard the words. The boy made it. Meanwhile, Daniel stood by his son's bedside, overwhelmed by gratitude and guilt. He wanted to thank the donor, to meet the woman who had just saved his world. But when he arrived at her recovery room, Maya was gone. The nurse said she'd left quietly, refusing any reward. She just said, "Tell the boy to live a good life." For weeks, Daniel searched for her. His assistants combed through records, hospitals, and shelters. Nothing. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Months passed. Ethan recovered fully, unaware of who had saved him. His father kept it a secret, planning to one day tell him when the time felt right. But fate had other plans. One rainy evening, Daniel's car broke down near the old district. As he waited for help, he saw a familiar figure under the flickering streetlight, a girl holding an umbrella over an elderly woman, shielding her from the rain despite being drenched herself. Daniel's heart skipped. It was her. Maya? She turned, startled. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she smiled softly. "You remember me?" "You saved my son's life," Daniel said, stepping closer, and disappeared. "Because I didn't do it for thanks," she replied. He looked at her, truly looked, and realized she was shivering. "You're freezing," he said. "Get in the car." She shook her head. "I'm fine." "Please," he insisted. "It's the least I can do." Reluctantly, she agreed. Inside the warm car, silence filled the air. Daniel finally asked, "Why did you really do it?" She looked out the window. "Because when I was little, my brother died waiting for a donor. No one came for him. I swore that if I ever could, I'd be that person for someone else." Daniel's chest tightened. "You kept that promise." She smiled faintly. "I just didn't think it would matter this much." He turned to her. "You have no idea how much it did." That night, he drove her home, to a crumbling apartment on the city's edge. As she stepped out, Daniel said, "You shouldn't live like this. Let me help you." "You already did," she said quietly, closing the door. But Daniel wasn't done. For the first time in years, he felt something real. Not business, not wealth, but purpose. He looked at her building and made a silent promise to himself. He wouldn't let the girl who saved his son fade into the shadows again. What he didn't know was that this act of kindness was only the beginning. And soon, their worlds would collide in ways neither of them could have imagined. 2 months later, Maya's life hadn't changed much, except for the small scar on her side that still ached when she worked long shifts. She never thought about it much, except when her tired reflection reminded her of what she had given away. Across town, in a mansion overlooking the city skyline, Ethan Reed was slowly rebuilding his strength. He had no idea who his donor was, but every time he looked at the long scar near his abdomen, he felt an ache of gratitude and a strange longing to meet the person who had given him a second chance. "Dad," Ethan said one morning, "I want to find her. The person who saved me." Daniel froze mid-sip of his coffee. He had kept Maya's name a secret out of respect for her privacy, but now he realized Ethan needed to know. "Her name is Maya," he said quietly. "She's not easy to find." Ethan's eyes lit up. "Then I'll find her." Weeks passed before he finally spotted her, by pure chance. Ethan had gone with his friends to a small diner downtown, the kind of place where the lights flicker and the smell of coffee lingers forever. And there she was, carrying plates with a tired smile, the same warmth in her eyes that somehow felt familiar. He didn't know how to start, so he simply said, "You're Maya, right?" She looked up, puzzled. "Yes, have we met?" "You saved my life," he said softly. Her hands trembled, a glass nearly slipping from her fingers. "You're Ethan?" He nodded. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The diner noise faded, the world outside disappeared. Then she smiled, the same gentle, humble smile that had changed everything months ago. "I'm glad you're okay," she whispered. Ethan sat down, unable to take his eyes off her. "You gave me more than a kidney. You gave me a future." Maya laughed quietly. "You make it sound like I performed a miracle." "You did," he said. "And now it's my turn." Over the next few weeks, Ethan began visiting the diner often, sometimes with excuses, sometimes just to see her. He'd sit in her section, order coffee he barely drank, and ask her about her life. Slowly, he learned everything about her sick mother, the long hours she worked, the debts she was drowning in. She never complained, never asked for help, but Ethan saw through the smile. One night after closing time, she found him waiting outside. "You shouldn't keep coming here," she said softly. "People will talk." "Let them," he replied. "You saved my life, Maya," Maya laughed quietly. "You make it sound like I performed a miracle." "You did," he said. "And now it's my turn." Over the next few weeks, Ethan began visiting the diner often, sometimes with excuses, sometimes just to see her. He'd sit in her section, order coffee he barely drank, and ask her about her life. Slowly, he learned everything about her sick mother, the long hours she worked, the debts she was drowning in. She never complained, never asked for help, but Ethan saw through the smile. One night after closing time, she found him waiting outside. "You shouldn't keep coming here," she said softly. "People will talk." "Let them," he replied. "You saved my life, Maya. You're part of it now." She hesitated, looking at him under the neon lights. "You don't owe me anything." "Maybe not," Ethan said, "but I want to be here. You taught me something. Money never could, that some people give without expecting anything back. I want to be that kind of person." Her eyes softened. "You already are." But just as their quiet bond started to grow, Daniel found out. When he saw his son talking to Maya outside the diner late one night, his heart filled with fear, not anger but worry. He knew how cruel the world could be to people from different worlds. "Ethan," he said the next morning, "you can't keep seeing her. She's been through enough. You'll only make things harder." Ethan clenched his fists. "You're wrong. Dad, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me." Daniel sighed deeply, torn between gratitude and the weight of social boundaries. "Ethan, listen, she's not like us." "Exactly," Ethan said. "That's why I need her." The argument ended in silence, but Ethan had made up his mind. He wouldn't walk away from Maya, not after everything she'd done. Not after realizing she'd given him more than life. She'd given him purpose. What none of them knew was that Maya was hiding a painful truth of her own, one that would soon test everything they believed about love, sacrifice, and fate. A few weeks later, Maya's life began to unravel. Her mother's condition had worsened, and the hospital bills were piling up again. She tried to hide it from Ethan, but one night after her shift, he caught her crying in the back alley behind the diner. "Maya?" he asked, stepping closer. She quickly wiped her tears. It's nothing, just a long day. Don't lie to me, he said gently. You helped me when I was at my weakest. Let me help you now. She shook her head. You've already done enough. But Ethan wouldn't leave it alone. The next morning, Daniel found his son gone and his personal assistant holding a signed check for $50,000 addressed to St. Mary's Hospital. When Daniel read the note attached, for Maya and her mother, he closed his eyes, torn between pride and fear. That evening, he went to the hospital himself. He found Maya sitting by her mother's bedside, holding her hand, unaware that Daniel stood at the door. When he finally spoke, his voice was low but steady. You're the girl who saved my son. Maya froze. Mr. Reed, I didn't expect to ever meet you. He nodded, looking at her weary face and trembling hands. You didn't just save him. You saved me too. I was losing him long before the illness. You don't have to thank me, she said softly. I didn't do it for anything in return. I know, he replied. That's what makes you different. Daniel turned toward her mother, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. How long has she been like this? Years, Maya whispered. She's all I have left. Daniel stood there for a long moment before quietly saying, Not anymore. Over the next few days, the Reeds quietly covered her mother's medical expenses. Ethan began spending more time with Maya, not as a billionaire's son, but as a man who finally felt like he understood life. They walked together in the park, shared simple meals, and laughed about little things that money could never buy. For the first time, Maya felt like she belonged somewhere she never thought she would. But not everyone was happy about it. When the press caught wind of the story, billionaire's son dating his kidney donor, the gossip spread like wildfire. Reporters camped outside the diner. Photographers followed her home, and cruel comments filled social media. Gold digger, they called her. Desperate. Trying to trap him. Maya stopped showing up for work. She ignored Ethan's calls, too afraid of what her presence was doing to his reputation. Finally, after 3 days, Ethan showed up at her small apartment. Maya, open the door, he pleaded. She hesitated, tears streaking down her cheeks. Ethan, please. You don't understand. They're tearing you apart because of me. I don't care what they say, he said firmly. You think I'd let lies decide what you mean to me? But my father respects you more than anyone. I know. Her silence broke into a quiet sob. I just wanted a normal life. I didn't want this chaos. Ethan took her hands. Then let me give you peace. Not with money, not with fame, just with me. At that moment, Daniel arrived behind him. He looked at Maya with a warmth she didn't expect. Ethan told me everything, he said, and I won't let people's opinions ruin what's real. Maya looked between father and son, her heart overwhelmed. Why me? She whispered. Because, Daniel said, smiling faintly, you gave when you had nothing, and somehow you made us whole. But even as their bond deepened, a new twist waited ahead, one that would test their faith in each other, more than anything before. The truth about Maya's mother, and the reason Daniel's family had a hidden connection to her long before. Ethan ever got sick? The truth came out on a quiet Sunday morning. Maya's mother, finally recovering after surgery, called for Daniel from her hospital bed. Her voice trembled as she said, There's something you should know. Something I've kept hidden for too long. Daniel leaned forward, confused. What is it? She looked at Maya, then back at him, tears forming in her tired eyes. Many years ago, before you became the man you are today, you helped a young nurse. She worked at one of your charity hospitals. That nurse was me. Daniel froze. You? She nodded. You paid for my education when I couldn't afford it. You told me to use it to save someone someday. I never forgot those words. And when my daughter was born, I told her about the man who believed in giving without expecting anything. Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. Mom, you mean... Yes, her mother whispered. You saved his son, but he saved us first. The room fell silent. Daniel turned away, visibly shaken. All this time, he murmured. Life really does come full circle, Ethan. Standing near the door, felt his throat tighten. Dad, you helped them before we even knew them. Daniel smiled faintly. And she returned that kindness in a way I never imagined. Maya took his hand gently. Maybe it wasn't coincidence, she said softly. Maybe it was meant to be. Months passed and peace slowly returned. Maya's mother fully recovered, and Daniel made sure she had the best care for life. But more than that, he began spending time with them as family, not out of guilt, but gratitude. One evening, at a charity gala, Daniel stood on stage with Ethan and Maya beside him. Cameras flashed, but he ignored the noise and spoke from his heart. Years ago, I thought wealth could solve every problem. But I learned that the greatest wealth is kindness. A young girl reminded me that sometimes miracles don't come from money. They come from hearts willing to give. The audience fell silent. Some moved to tears. Maya looked at Ethan, smiling through emotion. After the speech, Ethan turned to her. You changed my life, Maya. You changed all of ours. She smiled. You changed mine, too. You showed me that even when the world feels unfair, kindness always finds its way back. Time moved on, and their love grew quietly, away from headlines, away from noise. Ethan started a foundation in Maya's name, helping others afford medical care they couldn't. Daniel often visited the hospitals. His company funded, no longer as a billionaire, but as a man who understood what truly mattered. One day, as the sun set over the city skyline, Maya and Ethan walked together near the river. Do you ever think about that day? Ethan asked. The day you gave me your kidney? She laughed softly. I think about what would have happened if I hadn't. He smiled. Then I guess I'd never have met the girl who gave me. More than a life, she gave me a reason to live. Maya blushed and leaned, her head on his shoulder. And I'd never have known the boy whose heart was worth more than all the gold in the world. Behind them, Daniel watched from afar, smiling. For the first time in years, his heart felt full. The girl who had nothing gave everything, and reminded them all that love, kindness, and courage could heal more than medicine ever could. The story of the poor girl who saved a billionaire's son wasn't just about survival. It was about destiny, kindness, and the invisible thread that connects souls meant to find each other.